Zabta, please. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim. And first of all, my apologies. I just got confused with the date, though I had connection with Qasim Jan, but it didn't tell me that I am also there. Anyway, I'm trying to share my screen if I can. And can you all see my presentation now?
Yes, unmute.
Thank you.
Yes.
What I'm going to talk to you is specifically with this pandemic, we are exposed to some kind of ethical issues. I work for UNESCO as a co-chair of COMEST, which is World Commission for Ethics in Scientific Knowledge and Technology. So there we discuss, and then one of the major issues that we are now working on with inter-academy partnership also is about open science and inclusive society, and then ethics. So what happened with this pandemic, basically the disinformation in the epidemics, what they call it biowarfare in 2020. Earlier, we biologists, we were thinking as bioterrorism as one of our worries for the future because of the technology advanced and what we call it do-it-yourself technology in biology. But now, internationally, people are thinking that they are investing more on social media by portraying a sort of a disinformation and they carry on their own propaganda or agenda in the countries that they want. So they invest money in social media, and there is a lot of issues. For example, anti-vaccine drive. It happened even in the United States of America when there was measles and there was a vaccine, and there was a drive against it. And sometimes people are spreading rumors, delegitimizing science and public health, fake news, fake things. So there is where we biologists, or we scientists in general, we need to really work on it. Thirdly, the most important is pseudoscience and in this COVID. Not only pseudoscience, but people took it for commercial, their own agendas. Like, for example, even some people through social media, cow urine, bleach, cocaine, all these kind of things that they thought that they were spreading it. That's very good to save yourself from COVID. Many other things. So what WHO called it, this infodemic, that they are more dangerous than the actual virus that the people are spreading. So here is that we really all have to work together, and today that's why I propose this topic, that we at this platform IES, we should also be thinking about two issues. One, open science, sharing knowledge, because the young graduates now, they have problems when you expect good, this disaster of impact factor that I will be talking about, that the people are paying more money, more resources, specifically poor communities, poor countries, and it's another issue that we are. And why open science? Because when we talk about the ownership of science, whatever science we do, it's not entirely our property, because whatever grant we get, whether it's from wherever, it's the public exchequer money, whether it's from any donor agency or any charities even. So this is public money, and we are responsible for public. We have to involve inclusive society, that our science should be, for the good of the public. So there is a lot of data available, and I'm trying to share with you some of the things that the people, this became an industry publication. People are earning millions of dollars because of this industry, and they can publish anything that they want. So there is that we have to be thinking that this publicly funded money, at least the research that comes out of it, should be open to all. The researchers and the society, they should benefit from the science that comes out of the public money. So one was the science that they do, Several countries have made their, legislations, rules for publication for their within the organization that they should be sharing openly. Like Chinese government, they have kept some resources, 200 million yuan for improving this open science among their own, things. So here is that what we as IAS or Islamic countries, what we can do when we think about it. So now, when we talk about open science, there are three P's we are talking about: practice, principles, and policies. So practice, the data that we have, that should be open access. Then principles, knowledge is a good for public good. And then right to research for social justice and knowing it differently. And that is then in the policy, it should be reflected for inclusion, innovation, and funding, infrastructure, intellectual property. These issues that needs to be, for example, in developing country like Pakistan, usually the professor says that even we don't have a soft legislation, if I have something new, beside patenting, what intellectual property I will be getting if some industry is using it. And if I get some money, tomorrow I will be exposed to legislations. And, there are agencies that will be asking why 1%, why not 0.5%, for example. So those are the issues that we really have to work on it. Now, when we talk about these principles of research integrity, so what they call it, Hong Kong principles of integrity. One is responsible research practices, transparent reporting, open science, and valuing a diversity of types of research, and recognizing contributions of researchers' scholarly activities. Because of all this publication, what we call it, kind of a myth that now everybody has his impact factor and things, and there are ghost authorship, a lot of issues, ethical issues we are confronted with because of the policies that we are having. So when we talk about research integrity or scientific integrity, from researcher to funder, we need mechanisms in the lab, we need mechanisms in the organizations. We should be having whistleblowers if there are something is happening. So that is that we as a society or as a scientific community, we need to safeguard of all this. So coming back to openness or open science, what do we mean by it? Free of cost barriers, free of permission barriers, free to share, use it and reuse it. And there is that we need to have inclusive participation, equitable collaboration, and promote cognitive justice. Like Professor Maza said, me and Professor Maza, we are working a lot together, interdisciplinarity, and we have done really wonderfully well. We trained several PhDs, young PhDs, because of collaboration and because of openness that our both group are having. So that is that at least on this forum, IAS, we can try to have such kind of things. Now, when we talk about open access journals, so by 2011, we were having only 11% of the world articles were published in fully open access journals. But if you take of the cost of the paper, sometime a paper costs around US $5,000 if you publish it. And sometimes even if it is rejected, so the processing charge is sometimes close to $1,000 in some of the journals. So that is that you have to pay. Now imagine in a poor country and there is no funding for available for the young scientists, what could they do if they have to publish something good really? And that is that if you look at the revenue that the publishing agencies were generating, it is close to 10 billion US dollar in revenues. So that is that we really have to somehow internationally, and that is from the UNESCO forum and inter-academy partnership that we are working together. Here is the value of rejection. Even if it is rejected, the young student have to pay a lot of resources. So and why all this happened? And that is that performance measurement. last 1 decade, not only in developing country, but everywhere in the world, this impact factor, number of publication, now we are talking about citations also, H-index, etc. So there is that when we measure scientists, they do even illegal things, and the scientific integrity is in question. So there is, we really, there are a lot of benefits from open science. It goes everywhere, and when you have it closed, then it's only circulates in some circle that they do. So the right to science envisages the scientific and technology endeavors as a process that a person is entitled to participate. A collective and collaborative processes can help unite a frequently fragmented world. Even if there are politically different kind of thinking, for example, Pakistanis and Indians, we work together, though we have a lot of issues between the politically, but scientifically we share things, we share ideas, and we work. So there is that, what I recommend to at least this forum, that if we could somehow devise some kind of a strategy in OIC, Islamic countries, that how can we really have this basically fundamental science principles that we could, if we could somehow have collaboration, working together, and then open science, sharing things, at least between countries, between organizations, and then, taking benefit out of it, and that ecosystem that we will generate because of open science, that will really help a lot of issues that I have demonstrated here. And I'm sorry, I have to go quick because I collected a lot of data, and that is what I would like to share it with you. So if the countries and the regions that mostly do open science, here from Europe to Africa to China, they share, the percent of the share is shown here, and that 81% of the 20,000 journals articles in 2017 in Indonesia, they were open access to the authors among us. So now I'm going closer to now science with and for society. This year, World Science Day, the theme of the day celebration was science with and for society. Whatever we do, it should be for the general humankind, and we expect that scientists will be doing no harm as a principle of their science, and that their science should be for the good of the humanity. So that is where we call it responsible research and innovation, RRI. We have to engage society with our innovation efforts. We have to increase access to our results. We ensure gender equality, and we take ethical dimension whatever we do while doing science. These are the basic principles of doing, and we have to keep society informed about the science. Unfortunately, if you watch television in this crisis, pandemic even, every journalist, every political leader becomes expert of the virus, and they have different ideas. I should not be quoting some of the really jokes that politicians were saying, like somebody said, COVID-19 means 19 different this and that. So we really have to, and the reason is that we scientists don't go to media. We scientists have lesser time to share actual things with the public and with the society. So there is that, these are those key points that I wish if we could have, people are coming, the most intelligent people to science. In some of the countries, they rarely come after engineering and medical and, clinicians. Then this is the last thing that they do. Secondly, we need to have, understand the science diplomacy as a scientist practitioners, that how could we share our inventions and things that comes out of research with the public good. So there is that the science, policy, and society, this boundary that that has to really if we work together, probably we could get the maximum. Basic principle for ethics, integrity of scientists, trust, independence, working, avoiding hubris, recognize the limit of science, brokerage of net advocacy. These are the international principles that a scientist is expected to, perform. But when we talk about now in this, after this pandemic, we came to, you don't, what they call it, you don't need to deploy a weapon as a bioterrorism. You just need to have rumors and slogans, and you have to disinformation, and then you can destroy that society. It will spread the virus or the disease without deploying it. You just need to invest money. And that is what is really now happening in many areas. Some scientists are worried that politically, economically, the hostile countries are investing in each other's social media circles to, expose them to the worst through misinformation and disinformation. So there is that the responsibility of scientists comes more that how can they be transparent, and how should we democratize research or democratize our science so that it is done for the public good. So there is that we really need to have inclusive society for sustainable development. If we people-centered approach the development-oriented information society, there is that everyone could access to the knowledge that a scientist is having. This is what we call it citizen science. And that is that as observer, as funder, we should be having our science that the people could really be getting in it. So what we need to do is that we have to have actions, open in actions, that our work should be for the public good, and that is enhance the government open data ecosystem, deliver direct benefit to citizens and communities, share scientific research data to spur innovation and scientific discovery, help business and entrepreneur use government data as a resource in these countries that are high. Now, sir, I will be going quick to some of the slides so that I could conclude in my 20 minutes time, if I could. This is when we talk about citizen science, the other word that we come across is democratizing research. That is insisting that in addition to being rigorous science to popular, relevant, and participatory. And when we say participatory, it addresses the social issues. And now it comes to the even information age. We should know what the universities would be from now on. Even if there is no pandemic, people would really love to work like today. We are working virtual. So universities 10 years down the road will not be the same as they were 10 years back or 2 years back even things. So one more important thing that we should be working on as a committee of science, that we should be really watching misconduct, efforts to reduce irreproducibility. People work on the cartoon kind of thing that they do things, repeat the same thing that somebody else has said. So when we talk of the public good, from education to research to economy, there is that we really have to address important social issues, and we have to make our discoveries that are guardian of culture, that are really working with and that the science has impact on the society, positive impact that's having. And that is what, like Professor Maza said, multidisciplinary network, and to have a deeper understanding of science innovation as motor of an innovative, sustainable, and inclusive society. Thirdly, whatever science we do, people are worried that now we will have synthetic human being 20 years down the road if there is no ethics. We have created, synthetic virus, synthetic bacteria, synthetic cell, synthetic DNA. we should be really thinking what will happen if we 2050 down, you will be having a synthetic human being. If there is no ethical roaming around, you don't need to have a marriage of, even you don't need sperm and ovum. You can have chemicals and you can make human being. Now with this virus too, there are a lot of conspiracy theories, but even some 6 years before, journals stopped publishing paper when a lab was publishing something about H5N1. And it was a similar flu kind of thing. And they, at that time, imagined what can happen if somebody develops is in the lab. So what I insist is science is the most ethical. There is an ethical obligation of emerging technology to alleviate human suffering. Not doing science is the most unethical. Yet our responsibility of doing science is for the good of the human being. I quote one example that 2000, Europe was trying to develop some kind of fungus to spray on Afghanistan to destroy poppy. But then the scientists, they were saying, okay, when poppy is finished, where will that fungus go? And there are a lot of issues from that fungus that can have, may infect human being, and the mortality rate would be 70%. So these are the issues that when we do decision, it should be caution, wisdom, and with courage that somebody has to regulate it, either nationally, internationally, these issues that we are having. CRISPR-Cas9 is one of the examples that really we are confronted with. Though there is a very good paper appeared in Nature, Islamic approach about CRISPR, Qasad, Yaqeen, Darar, Darura, and Urf. I'm not going into detail, but we had some good things available with us that we can really work on it. What should be done and where should we have, stop our thing that we do. So we as a scientist, what we can do for the society, to the policymakers, and how can we really be demonstrating ethics, and we should have some limits when we were doing science. Here is some data from the scientists that they communicate with the society. And when they are asked for their job description, they say administration this %, research this %, teaching that %, another task that %. But when you communicate with the society, 0%, usually. This was from East Asia, but it's true to everywhere that we are really doing things that, and here I quote one more example. In 2018, we were portraying everywhere that in % growth of publication, Pakistan and Egypt were growing at 20%. But when translated into the innovation and marketability, there was a question mark that we do a lot of publication number, again, impact factor, those kind of issues, but we really have to think about the research values, about the ethics, and about the integrity of science. Another graph I'm showing here very quickly is the number of PhDs that are produced, for example, in Pakistan. Exponential growth, yet the quality and the impact on the society is a question mark that we really have to work on. As I said, universities are challenged. How will university look like 10 years down the road? There is that we have to prepare ourselves as a IAS, as a Pakistan, as a Muslim countries. We should be thinking where are we going and what will be. Even now in our the best university, we are facing problems when our students can achieve get online lessons sitting in remote mountains and difficult terrains. So this pay and publish, you pay money and you can publish anything you would like to have. A lot of fake journals, a lot of, I'm sorry, because of time, I'm just ignoring this disaster of impact factors and the issues related to all this that we really have to work. And when we talk about integrity, so when it comes to fame or fortune, the supervisor or the senior professor takes the credit, but when it comes to shame and penalty, responsibility, it goes to down to the student and young researcher. So we should be considering both. as obligation when we are talking about it. Thirdly, science and inequality, that the West, the language, publications, again, there's another question that we from the South, how could we really be competing with those developed countries that they are having? I'm sorry, I'm just closing it here. I just want to thank you all and the leadership of our academy. Thanks for giving us time to share our idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shinwari. It's very enlightening speech.
Hello.
Dr. Azhar.
Yes, this is
Yeah, go ahead.
Kabze Shivani. Hello, how are you? I hope you are all right.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Asghar. I met you,
Yes,
in the last meeting.
yes,
Yes.
You talk wonderfully about misinformation. I think, and you have given your ideas how to treat with that. But there's a fundamental problem. There's a fundamental problem is we are living in a society which is called post-truth epoch, where truth has no value. No value, absolutely no value. So whatever you do, it would not do anything unless you treat the root of the problem. The root of the problem is we are living in a world of post-truth, which is aggressively pushed forward by aggressive, very active ignorance. You cannot do anything. You can go on giving a lecture as you like, but you make no difference unless you treat the root cause of this thing. What do you think?
Yeah, thank you very much. Excellent question, Professor Asghar. We share similar kind of thinking.
I know.
I just quote you one or two examples. In our country too, when we work with UNESCO, there are two issues that we are talking about. One, character building of the younger students from school to the universities. Two, even the professors, the researchers. They love to call them as a mathematician, as a physicist, as a biologist. They rarely be known as a good teacher, as a good human being, as a good mentor for young students. Even we claim we are talking about integrity, about ethics, but we ourselves normally would love to be known as what? Biologist, physicist, etc. So we rarely work with the younger lot to be known as a good mentors, as a good ethicist, as a good human being, that we try to spend 5% at least of our time in the university, in the classroom, to change the society. The society that you said, we totally agree, specifically in a country like we are living, polarized, and a lot of issues that we are confronted with, even nowadays, the political things that we are having. But somebody has to not put all the blame on the politicians. The universities that they are putting their graduates out in the market, how good are they? How good are really, whether, and some people as a joke, they are saying that this country is more damage has been done by the literate or the highly educated people than the illiterate people or the laborers. So we all have to really think somehow that how can we really play at least our role, that to transform or to have change managers, or at least the trained change managers that to bring good to the society.
Can I come back?
Yeah, go ahead.
The problem is, what you're saying is wonderful. I'm saying is you are living completely drowned in this thing, in the post-truth epoch, where truth has no value, absolutely no value now. Whatever you see around you, the publicity and all the media, they do not care about the truth. Truth has lost its absolute value. How do you go back to that? That's the problem. You can give lectures as much as you like. It makes no difference because the society is completely contaminated by this virus.
Yeah, you're right. Let's see, Shaukat Avid want to say something.
Well, make a short comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dr. Shamsher.
Dr. Shaukat, please.
Dr. Zabta Shinwari, has talked about open access journals, right?
Yeah.
And the merits of open access journals. I would request you to kindly read an article which came out in 2015 in the Indian newspaper, The Hindu, fake journals, and it says 42% of all the fake online, they're not online journals, are published from India. So they can avoid peer reviews.
Correct.
And there is a pressure, publish or perish. So they keep on doing. I myself have received repeated requests to be part of the review board in a journal, and they would pay me for it on biotechnology, on nanotechnology, on agriculture. I said, I've got nothing to do with them. So this open online journals is a curse. And the University of Colorado, Dr. Beal, and the University of Manchester, the librarians, they're all pointing out that this is a serious crisis in the publication arena in science and technology.
Yeah, just to comment a brief. There's another paper I think a couple of months back, I think it was in Nature. And what they said was that some highly decorated scientists like you, for example, they ignorantly, they review papers for the fake or the, those journals that they have a lot of, exposure on the media, the social media or the emails, etc. Ignorantly, they call you, they write you, they pay you, they put your name on the details, you review it and you don't know that you are reviewing for a fake journal. So there was and the data was mind-blowing, like 70%, 65%. So that is that we sometimes, fall trap of all these things. There is a price to pay, but what we need to do is what I was or UNESCO or IAP, the recent recommendations are available on the website of UNESCO. I was part of the working group, both of UNESCO and IAP, that we try to address these issues. The other issue is not only fake journals and publication and all this, even some professors keep their published papers hiding from the other people because they cut and paste and change the language and 70% of the fake data and less from others and mix it and publish it. They are experts sometimes. So what we really need, like Professor Asghar said very rightly, the values, the society as a whole, and somehow we have to really be preaching this subject everywhere, at least, hammering people, doing something.
One comment.
I would like
Can morality be taught? This was asked by Aristotle about more than 2,000 years ago. Can you teach ethics and morality?
If I teach, there are two ways of, teaching or portraying yourself, or at least if you are a role model as a university professor, if people watch you, if you can do something, maybe. Kaim Sahab ko bahut arse baad dekha, he wants to say something.
If I may something, yes, yeah.
Can I make it? I was waiting to make a comment. Can I make a short comment?
دكتور شمشير تفضل.
Okay. I think I'll tell first Dr. Musa, you have given him a very big task, 3 seminars or webinars to cover in one talk. I mean, each one of the 3 topics, I have heard this before. And you have loaded him with one, you shouldn't have taken this load at all. Now, I'm an old timer and my views are, I agree with ethics, plagiarism and all this ethics, but I hardly disagree any encouragement of online journal. Online talk is a different thing. You are watched globally. Whoever is watching globally, but online journals are not read by the peers in the subject. When I was with the ICTP, I was there for 30 years off and on. And we worked very hard and we had to fight with the editor. I remember in one journal of reviews of modern physics, I had to write to the letter. I had published some in there. In one case, I had to write, your referee, at least in this case, I know better than your referee. And the referee had to yield. So this kind of intellectual fight is not there in online journal. You have to remember that these things are for property for posterity, these journals, where a good article gets quoted for about 50, 60, even more years. And these online journals are generated because of pressures on them to compete for professorship. There was one professor in a department, head of the department, unless he dies, there were no professor. Now everybody becomes a professor. It's an inverted pyramid. And so I think you should give your second thoughts, Shinwari, about promoting in journals. Thank you very much.
Okay, if I may.